Hey, everybody, welcome back to episode 2 of We Are Not Dead Yet. I'm your host, Kurt Schilling, co host, Brian Yels. What's up, B?
Almost dead. Chipped off a little piece of my toe this morning trying to cut my toenails, so I could have
Hey,
bled
first of all,
out.
stop. You were, no, no, you got to stop. You were cutting your
Literally almost
finger.
dead.
No, you're
No,
not
no,
Ronnie
I
Lott.
have German toenail clippers. They
No.
have like a 4-inch jaw on them. They're the jaws of death. They're the best clippers I've
So,
ever seen.
Ronnie Lott live and in studio, folks. Hey, a couple things. We're going to talk about Scenario 2, Bloody Bergberg from WBC. We'll get into that in detail. Garrick will put up the scenario card. We'll do the map thing like we did last week, and we're going to try and keep working and improving this. But I think one of, Brian, you can chime in here. One of the big things we want to do is make sure that our gamers across our social networks understand MMP is more than just ASL, even though that's our game of choice and kind of our flagship product. We had the honor of being friends and partners with a wonderful human being, Dean Essig, for 30 years, 20 some years. And
Long time.
how long ago was it that MMP went in, and when Dean was kind of thinking about moving away from full time, we purchased the gamers, and Dean worked with us, not under us. He worked with us.
We
Um,
literally
it,
bought the gamers 2 weeks before 9/11
yeah.
because
So
Russ
24 years.
Bunton was
Yeah.
driving a 24-foot truck across the country full of gamers inventory and stayed at my house on 9/10, and we woke up the next morning to the tragedy that happened. Uh, Crazy, crazy day. A
But
week,
an
really.
amazing man, former service member who had a horrific accident. And for those of you that know Dean, know this story. But for those of you that don't, I think it's worth telling. Dean lost both of his thumbs in a motor accident, and just kind of doubled down in the game space. He did his own art. Pretty amazing to watch. Amazing human being. Unfortunately, sadly, we lost Dean recently to cancer. But we are going to bring on a gentleman here very quickly who has taken over kind of the mantle of the gamers outside of the MMP offices. And let me go ahead and bring in one, Carl Fung. There he is.
Hey,
Hey
Hello,
guys.
Carl.
Carl. So
Hey
Carl
Kurt. Hey Brian.
is what honcho is a big word in the gamers in this line of games, and
Yeah.
uh, Dean was the head honcho. Carl has taken over, and I'm very proud to say aptly and uh, whatever positive you could use, allowed the game to continue, the games and the line of games to continue to flourish. So, hey, Carl, thanks for joining us. And listen,
Yeah.
I'm going to pass it to you. You can give a brief background of your history there, and just
Yeah.
tell people what's going on right now with the gamers and the what different lines of games right now.
Absolutely. So yeah, if for anyone who doesn't know, the gamers are series-based games. Dean did a lot of work, not just designing one-off games, but he built series-based roles. So anyone familiar with Operational Combat Series, Battalion Combat Series, Line of Battle, uh, Tactical Combat Series, and Standard Combat Series, those are all Dean's brainchilds. He designed them. He was a one-man show for like 30 years, and then worked with you guys. Sadly, he did pass in March 2024. I worked really close with Dean since 2010, where I was basically involved in a lot of different aspects and a lot of the different games that released since that time period. So I knew a lot of what was going on with a lot of the games, and I'm really appreciative. Brian gave me a call saying, "Hey, Dean's going to pass. We're looking to someone who helps take it over." So I'm really appreciative you guys give me that opportunity. Yeah, just allow me to do this, and I'm definitely bringing the passion that Dean brought to it. And I'm not here to take over for Dean's legacy. I'm here to see his legacy through. And he's built up such a great community and such a loyal fan base with all the different series and all the different games. I'm hoping to continue with that. So without further ado, yeah, let's. The first series I want to go
Hey, Carl,
through.
I just want to jump in
Yeah,
and say again, we're incredibly proud to be partnered with you, and
yeah.
incredibly. And Brian, you could comment quickly because you and Dean were very close. But I haven't seen any change in the passing of the mantle, passing of the torch, and for that we're incredibly grateful.
Yeah, Carl was Dean's suggestion. Um, you know, we bought the gamers. We owned the gamers, but the reality is, like Kurt said, we were partners. We tried to take care of the Essex as best we can.
Yeah.
And when Dean said, "Hey, Carl's the man," obviously I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here. We were quick to jump and offer the job to Carl because, quite frankly, as Kurt pointed out, we're SL players mostly. I play other games. I think Kurt plays some every now and then, but I don't know OCS. I don't know TCS. I just learned BCS because I said, "Hey, Dean, I really want you to teach me BCS. How about making a game on Gela, Sicily?" And when we went to the wake at his house after he passed, sitting on his table was the map of Gela, finished, and he was working on the OB and stuff for that game. And Carl has taken over the game and finished it, and it is in a magazine that's soon to be coming out, or I can't quite remember the details on where it's at right now. But
Well, that's where I come in, right? Yeah.
yeah, that's why you're here to let
That's
us
right.
know. We got fans that like stuff other than ASL. We're all still alive right now, so let's go for it and hear what we got to say.
Yeah. Just to continue what you're talking about for Battalion Combat Series, the game that's on pre-order right now is, well, it's wrapped up in a magazine, like Brian said. It's called Battalion S3, which is a brilliant title name, just because Battalion S3, it's intelligence. So the point of the magazine, it's similar to Operational Matters, where we're packaging a number of articles to teach new players, old players, just how to play the game, know your strategy. Maybe you forgot a rule. Maybe you've been playing it wrong these, bunch of times. It's a self-encapsulated magazine, and what we did was we wrapped a game around it on Battle of Gela, which took place in Sicily in July 10th through the 12th in 1943. So all the articles are going to be specifically about running operations, right? Running your activations, how to conduct combat, how does logistics work. Hopefully that's really going to introduce a lot of players. But even for veteran BCS players, they're going to have a challenge. It's not an easy game, but it's a great single format game. It's perfect to put in a magazine. Play it within a night.
Hey, Carl,
It's a great package.
let me just add this for non-gamer people like I am. I've dabbled in a little of the gamer stuff at different levels. But one of the things that I find and found incredibly appealing, and I only found this when I started to try and do research for a Desert ASL Hassel, was Dean's love affair, so to speak, with supply and logistics, and understanding
Yeah.
that every single major conflict in the history of mankind has had one common theme, not weapons, not any of that. It's supply and logistics. You can't, and his military career kind of advocated for him to be involved in and around that specific aspect of combat. And it's probably I have never seen a combat system built on supply and logistics where it doesn't overwhelm the gameplay,
Right.
but it does recognize the importance. And I think for new players, it's a very intimate system as it relates to that stuff, and very interesting as well. So sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think you hit it to a T. Just because, if you think about all the old traditional like war games, you got 100 units, and you can move all the 100 units. They do whatever you want at the commander's wishes. Dean was pretty much able to integrate that into the rules without, like you said, without it being too burdensome, but restricting it in a good way, because it requires a lot of planning on the players rather than I'm just going to do it just because I thought about it. So it layers in all the different hierarchies of the organization, what you can and what you can't do into the game rules. So it's pretty seamless. I mean, Battalion Combat Series has really taken off ever since the initial games, and honestly, I'll have a whole spate of games on that series in the future.
Not to interrupt, but we just released at a little bit before WBC 2 weeks ago, Inflection Point, and it's gotten a lot of really good word of mouth. People don't like the title. I can't say I'm stunned with the title either, but Dean really wanted that to be the title, and that was happening whether or not I hated it or not. So I'm glad that I can live with it.
Well,
there's a point behind the title.
To bitch, guys. We know that. So
it
didn't matter if we named it your golden medal greatest game ever. Somebody was going to piss and moan about the title.
All right. So I'll tell you the story, because when you read the title Inflection Point, you're not going to know what that means. The point behind it is because there's two battles it covers in the game. The first one is the Battle of Kalak, and I'll begin with both the battles revolve in and around Stalingrad. Stalingrad's not on the map. We're not going to do this big sluggish urban battle. That's what Red Barricades is for, right? The first battle is Battle of Kalak, which takes place in July. So it's Paulus's Sixth Army who's advancing through the Russian steppes, and he's obviously doesn't want to fight in Stalingrad itself. He's looking to trap the Soviets, kind of like the same kind of big pockets they used to do in Barbarossa, and knock the Soviets and then just march into Stalingrad. He didn't succeed. So the Soviets they're still new. They're not, all the types of Soviets that we're familiar with, how they got their operational maneuver groups and everything going in 1944 and 1945. They're still raw. Then with the other battle that's in that game is the Battle of Cheer River, and was made famous in von Belletin's Panzer battles. It's about the 11th Panzer Division running around, beating up all the Soviets and this and that. But what it does reflect is that the Soviets had learned after Stalingrad of how to conduct big maneuver warfare, and this is right after Operation Uranus, where they just manhandled the Hungarians, the Italians, and the Romanians. Went down, took Kalak, and then started advancing further south. So the Germans were just on their legs of just throwing random bodies and Kampfgruppe and alert battalions in there. So the game really does reflect two different styles that the Soviets were learning, and the Germans were finally on their back foot. So, Brian, if further asked,
right?
Bingo.
It truly was an
go.
inflection point, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Still not a great title.
But,
I'm a better title side.
Carl, it speaks to a higher level of intelligence.
Well, there might be that. I'm not sure I could spell it, but as long as it sells well, you could call it what you want.
It will.
So,
Inflection
real
Point will
quick,
do
Carl,
well. Dangerous Forward will do
for
well.
our new customers, for our ASL players listening, give me a quick synopsis. BCS represents what? TCS, OCS.
Yeah. Right. So Battalion Combat Series is really what it is. BCS, Battalion Combat Series. The main maneuver unit are battalions. Anyone who is familiar, maybe not, that is basically an offshoot from one of Dean's original series designs called Operational Combat Series. And just like the name implies, that revolves around operational level of warfare. Most of the main maneuver units
That's like Army level,
divisions,
Corps
regiments.
level
Correct.
stuff.
Right. You have armies that are controlling the logistics, and then who you're moving around to do combat and everything are like divisions and regiments. So Battalion Combat Series was kind of an offshoot for that. He wanted to bring it down a level. Originally, it leveraged a lot of the concepts from Operational Combat Series, but then Dean, being the thinker that he is, said, I can change it up. He always was looking for fresh ideas, and then developed a brand new series out of it. And we're 7 games in with Danger Forward. That's the 8th game out in the series, and it's been really solid. Running through the other series really quickly. I mentioned Operational Combat Series. Line of Battle is a Civil War brigade. Is a Civil War series done at the regimental scale. So if you think about Gettysburg, you have all the regiments for Union versus Confederate. That has a longevity because that stemmed from a Civil War brigade series and a regimental offshoot, and then he's evolved it into a line of battle game about that. He has his standard combat series. Basically, this is his throwback to the old SPI days. The core rules are like 8 pages long. So if you just want a quick game, just want to read the rules really quickly, it's got quick exploitation, combat, move. What I always think is it's a don't think game, right? Don't overthink it. Yeah, and the last series is Tactical Combat Series. So this is, and I think this actually harkens back to Dean's military days, because he was a platoon leader, and by the time he unfortunately had his accident, he was a weapons platoon leader. And the Tactical Combat Series is very low level combat. Each maneuver unit.
Is it squad level or platoon level?
It's platoon level, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But what you do is, and this is actually a big selling point behind a lot of Dean's games, is that kind of what I was saying before. You're not just having 100 units just rush up and do whatever you want. He built in order systems. With the Tactical Combat Series, you have an operation sheet. It sounds more cumbersome than the way I'm making it out, but it
does, and it's not. It's actually one of the things that drew me to it. Was you're literally writing out orders and you have to use to the best of your player faith, execute
Right.
your units have to try and execute the orders you've written for them. It's very cool from a board gaming perspective because it's a
Right.
very unique and different approach than anything that came before it.
And if anything, it actually translates really closely to how military operations are being run, because there's a command hierarchy, and you have all the fog of war, and like basically just how slow things communicate. You're
Right.
not calling a guy on the radio and just
Right.
things instantaneously happen. There's a lot of things that happen in between staffs.
Yeah, when Napoleon's
and how
sending
good the staffs
messages
are.
to his leaders at Hogemont, it's not, hey, go move those guys there. It's a horse rider delivering the message and hopefully not getting killed on the way and all the
Exactly.
things that go with that.
Right. So, I mean, basically, those are all the series. Yeah, and I'll just kind of list off all the different games because I got a whole slew of games that I'm
Yeah, well,
preparing
what I
to get
wanted
ready
to
now.
know, Carl, I think what we'd love to do with this is obviously bringing you on more often as we go in the future. But what's
Mm-hmm.
on your plate right now? What
Mm-hmm.
can the line of gamers and the different series expect in the near future?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, just one last one because just to round out Battalion
Yeah,
Combat
yeah,
Series.
please,
Because,
sorry.
we got Dangerford that's on pre-order right now. Right now, I'm testing a Battle for France and Belgium, 1940. It's a two map. It's gonna be great because basically you have the Meuse River right in the middle, and you got a meat engagement because you got the Germans coming right out of the Ardennes. You got the French coming in because they're sending all their reserves and everyone forward. They're gonna meet in the middle, right in the Meuse, and you're gonna have a big fight. Whether or not they break out of Sedan or Dinant, who knows? That you got a game
Yeah.
that. So
Now that
really
was
works, though.
BCS, or what game is that?
that's going to be BCS. So it's actually called the Breaking Point because basically the breaking point is where the French are going to be broken, depending on where the Germans are lucky enough to break through across the river.
Cool.
So yeah, I got that cooking. For Line of Battle, the Civil War Brigade Series, first we have on pre-order No Turning Back on the Battle of the Wilderness. Big game, I'm hoping that gets done soon because that's going to be the first regimental game on Wilderness. So it's gonna be stellar. That was Dean's last Line of Battle game, and it'd be fantastic to see it through. What I got cooking right behind it is the Battle of Perryville. It's going to be called Inferno in the Bluegrass. So this is Bragg's invasion of Kentucky in October 1862. We cover that. We got this really, young, great, energetic designer, Nick Roser, just throws his passion in. He's contacted all these experts down in Perryville. He's been there a bunch of times, put a solid game together. I got the honcho, Chris Anthony, working on that, and he's done a solid job. And just to kind of mention, just because you kind of mentioned the honcho thing before. So honchos are basically, it was a deanism. Let me just say it that way. They're basically all the heads of all the different series. They kind of help coordinate just going on the show. I won't be anywhere without the honchos because Dean's built up such a great community through his fan base, and folks just love this game that after they heard of Dean's passing, I got contacted like crazy just saying, hey, I love Dean's games. What can I do to help out?
Yeah.
So one instance, Chris Anthony says, I love Line of Battle. What can I do to help out? And I said, you know what? I got this Line of Battle game. I'm swamped with doing the 50,000 other things I got to do with the Gamers games. If you want to take it over. And he's done a bang-up job. He's doing the artwork. He learned Illustrator. He learned all the graphics. And he great. And when I go into the other series too, I'll mention all the other folks who were helping.
Well, yeah, and Carl, for that, I would just say what we'll probably end up doing is we'll bring them on, right? Well,
yeah, certainly.
Anytime we're probably leading up to the the launch of a game or the shipping of a product, it'd be really nice to bring you and the series honcho on to talk about what their guys are about to see, what they're about to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we're nerds. We love that shit.
Yeah, of course. So just kind of moving on. So standard commissary. So again, this is kind of like the straightforward game. We have a game called Drive on Kharkov. This is basically third Kharkov, right? This is Manstein's famous backhand blow. Big Soviet push, and then in February, and then by end of February through March, Manstein comes around, whips them, and starts pushing them all the way back to Kharkov. So that's in the work. That's going to be a fun game.
Ironically, before we started the podcast tonight, Kurt and I actually finished a turn of the ASL campaign game we're playtesting on third
Kharkov in Flames.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
It all
We're
ties
going
in
to talk
together.
about that later, yeah. But that's
It was a good turn
getting
for me,
a lot
by
of
the way.
love right now.
Mhm.
There was, outside of about 6 threes that he rolled, it was a pretty good turn for me.
For
Hey,
tactical combats, yeah, sorry. I
no, go ahead, Carl. Go ahead.
was just gonna say for tactical combat series. So that's traditionally been on like World War II battles. The last game that came out was actually mine. It was on the Battle of Goose Green in the Falklands. So the new game that were coming out is actually a unique. It's basically like 5 little mini battles in Vietnam. It's pretty neat. So we have. I got the list of battles here. So we got Operation Starlight, 1965. We got I Drank, also 1965. That's obviously the famous. We were soldiers once and young. Operation Pegasus, which is the operation to help Quezon during the Tet Offensive. Hamburger Hill, 1969, and the last one's Duck Lap, which is basically a special forces base that was attacked in 1969.
I'm not gonna lie, Carl. I was skeptical when Dean came back with what is it, Arietta 2.0 or whatever, the new version of the rules. It was already tapering off in sales considerably. We were just not ready to commit much of anything to that. And, he put his foot down and was like, well, this has got to see print, and if it dies after that, well, that's okay. But Goose Green blew my socks off. We sold that really well.
Good.
I can't imagine a more uninteresting topic.
Well, it's not that it's just it's a niche of a niche of a niche, right? It's modern combat, which is really hard to replicate in the board gaming sense, not when you're not on a computer. Not only is it hard to replicate, it's hard to make it enjoyable because so much weaponry now is fire and forget that it's like, no, okay, how fun is that? But like I saw Goose Green and I chuckled thinking, really? I mean, that, but
I'm glad to prove you wrong.
Are people dying to play the Argentinians?
So much, especially us. We play in our own silos, and we're not exposed to things. When you kind of walk out of your comfort zone, you realize there's people as incredibly passionate about the Vietnam as I am about World War II, and they want somebody like the honchos who are, just fully interested and invested making their game, because you can't fool. I always say, and I always used to say this, in professional sports, you can't fool the fans. At 7:05, the lights go on, the game plays, it's all for real. You can't lie to war gamers. Right? It's us. It's like us watching the TV preview for Patton and seeing M47 Walker Bulldogs that are supposed to be with German swastikas. We're offended. But players want passion from their designers, and that was always, to me, a staple of every line of games that Dean put out.
Yeah.
I'd like to deviate slightly from board gaming for just 1 second. Patton is an underrated movie. I mean,
but still,
you have to take it for what it is. His speech in front of that flag is iconic.
No, dude, I'm with you, but I felt the hives thing come up when I started mentioning the art. Like, I want, like, Kelly's Heroes was a goofy movie, but they used Shermans and half tracks and stuff that fed my.
They built tigers.
Oh my God! Yes.
I think they actually had a bridge layer too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
You guys
but
yeah, we are.
You gotta like a movie with bridge layers.
But we are those guys, right? The people that we don't play Uno in a sense, or Axis and Allies. We're playing for the intimate, like, detail and the intricate detail that only we recognize and only we think matters and is important. But when you omit that stuff, gamers see it, and they'll call it out.
That's why, right?
All over.
Woohoo! Yes. Hey, Carl, listen.
Reference guide.
We're going to wrap up, but listen, I appreciate you giving us your time, buddy. And
absolutely,
we're going to make this a frequent thing, and let the honchos know we're obviously incredibly grateful, continue to be grateful. Now, log off and get back to work, because I know we have a game getting ready to go on the pipeline. You take care of yourself, Carl. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I still have all the slew of operational combat series games. I got plenty in the hopper.
All right, Bubba, you take care.
All right, Carl. Talk to you later, buddy. Great guy.
Good dude. Good,
Oh,
great guy.
great guy. I
But
think he's got a youngish kid or two. So, I mean, you remember, well, you might not remember what that's like. I remember what that's like to work a real job and have young kids and then try and apply your
I
passion
still
to a
to this
hobby
day
too.
haven't done the whole work a real job thing, but
Great.
I'll give you benefit of the doubt there.
Well,
Um,
it's like work. You had to go eat
so real
good
quick,
ballpark food.
we we got great response from the first podcast, so thank you to everybody. We're gonna work to make this even better. So please, if you can, hit like, subscribe, join the group, and we're going to uh, do more, do better. But I wanted to touch before we get into. We're going to talk about Bloody Bergberg, which was, I'm sorry, another bowl of borscht, which was a WBC ASL World Championship round number 2. But I wanted to mention a couple things off of that. Right before you mentioned it, Brian. Right before we got on here, you and I were playtesting what I think is going to be the final playtest round for the Kharkov campaign game. Andy Rogers of Hatton in Flames Stardom has put together another awesome Hazel. Same, I think the map is literally the same size, and it's white because it's snow covered. Around the third battle of Kharkov, we're playtesting that. That's on the docket, and we're shooting for winter offensive. And we'll, again, nothing. You can hold me to nothing here. But I did want to mention, Brian, something that came up. It's not going to get a lot of mention. It's very early in the works. But Matt Noah has a group of people that are working, and Matt's working tirelessly to put together a Vietnam module for ASL. I know I'm skeptical. I think you are.
I'm so far beyond skeptical.
Yeah, but I will say this: no matter what happens, if it comes out, it'll be probably one of the better research projects in the history of wargaming. Um,
He's interviewing so many live veterans of the battles and things, and just
right.
getting data from these guys that's unobtainable when you're working on World War II
Well, and,
stuff.
and I
Yeah,
say that
books, but
I was saying that kind of tongue in cheek, but I'm not kidding. He's literally interviewing multiple surviving veterans a week, from the Idrang Valley, from the We Were Soldiers encounter. Again, I'm very skeptical that Vietnam is doable, but if it is doable, this will be how it gets done. So I hope he does well, and I'm obviously incredibly appreciative. Got some really smart people in the loop.
well, I
Um,
know that what was it? The last email that I received from the group was, how many Hueys can land in an open ground hex.
what
Uh,
should be the firepower of the rockets in a land? I mean, it was like some. And by the way, on that thread were multiple uh, pilots from the Vietnam War who flew attack choppers and flew the what do they call them? Um, the little Hueys.
I'm
There's a
not a Vietnam guy. I
right.
don't
Well,
even
no,
know.
there's a nickname for it, but again, it's like the email chain. But I just want to give them a call out and let them know that for you guys that are interested in more modern Korean ASL stuff, that it's there. So,
I'm gonna
um,
before we jump into our scenario, I'm gonna hope that Garrett can throw something up on the screen. He's been great at what he's done so far. Uh, we're gonna have a contest in week 2. Crazy,
yes,
right? Send an email to podcast@mmpgamers.com. I'm hopeful that Garrett can throw that up on the
he
screen.
will.
And let me know that Kurt's favorite peanut butter is, in fact, Skippy Creamy, which is an abomination to mankind. It should be
But there's
chunky.
no other kind.
But if you send an email and tell me Skippy, you will be entered in, and we will have a drawing, and we'll announce the prize next week.
Yeah,
It'll probably be
we'll give
something
away.
good, like, I don't know, Chef DuPont or Journal 16 when it comes out. But
Yep.
there you go.
And along another quick side note too. We've been talking about this for those of you that are online. Game Squad, the website, has run into some major problems, and we're in discussions with, and it's looking like we're going to have a positive outcome that we at MMP will take over the Game Squad forums. Hopefully, if you know us, it won't be done half-ass. We will do it in such a way that it will be daily monitored. We won't be censoring speech other than to keep the traditional online scumbags out. But it'll be a place for you to go and you to talk, whether it be ASL game. There's a lot of different forums on there but that's in discussion, and we'll be bringing news in the near future for that as well.
So if
Um,
you're an ASL scumbag, hit like and subscribe to our YouTube broadcast, but don't post a bunch of crap on Game Squad.
right.
Got
All
it.
right. B, another bullet bore. So, guys, this was round 2 of WBC's first ASL World Championship. Remember, we were down to 16 for the title at this point. Steve Pleva had gotten a bye in round 1. So we had 16 games in the winner's bracket. We had another 16 in the loser's bracket. You see the scenario card there. 5.5 turns, night scenario, but, and I'll preface again, I'll say this again. The next world champ, I will not have a night scenario in the next tournament, just because of, for me, the simple fact that a really bad player can beat a really good player at night because of a couple weird dice rolls. And that's not something we want to inject. But having said that, pretty fascinating. This was Pete Schelling design again. You have board 33 A to P with preset and pre-designated hexes for the Russian trench line. Now, the reason this was, it was fun, but the other thing was I felt, and I think we felt, it was kind of night light in the sense that the game starts out with a 5 NVR, and you're only using a half board, so there isn't a lot of terrain where you can skulk around. For those of you that don't know, moving at night, you don't lose concealment moving at night, regardless of how you're moving, unless you're moving in an illuminated location. But with the way the Russians are set in the middle of the map, they have a road bisecting 2 trench lines. Now, one of the other things, and we talked about this earlier, B, pay attention to the victory conditions. And by that, I mean, for the victory conditions in this one, the Germans win at the end of any game turn that there is not a good order Russian unit in a trench. You don't have to actually be in the trenches. The Russians just can't be in good order in the trenches. And it's important to think about that because the Russian defense is, in my opinion, two-pronged. We tweaked the OB as we were going along because we felt the Russians were too brittle. Because for those of you that understand night, when you break at night, you're done. You're dead. You're combat infected. You don't come back. But you had, 5, 8, 13 trenches for the Russians, 5 on top of the road, 8 below the road. You had the Germans coming on from the east on the right on turn 1, and a much better, stronger force from the left on turn 2. So I'm gonna ask Brian to jump in with his initial thoughts on setting up the Russian defense, because we played this enough times that I got to believe that there was probably a right defense and everything else when it came to the Russians.
Wow, put me on the spot because I hate night scenarios. I played this once with you, and it was a shellacking, and I immediately wanted to walk away from this scenario total. But we ended up playing it, I think 6, maybe 7 times. What I think, if you look at the map and the setup to the south, it's much closer to the edge where the reinforcements come in for the Russians. So I'm all about holding that southern part so my reinforcements can get into the trenches. And I'll dummy and just maybe have 1 or 2 units up in the northern trenches. I believe it was Guy Cheney, when I saw him playing, that he put most of his units, his defensive units like the wire, in between the trenches and what I thought were where the reinforcements would come in. I was totally blindsided.
Had the minefields literally adjacent. He had the minefields in F9, G9, H9, and I9, or those somewhere thereabouts. And in his mind, I think he recognized that that's going to be where the German. I thought that was, and again, Guy's one of the better players around. That inhibits my reinforcements from getting into the trenches.
It does, but
yeah.
It also, if the German is trying to be clever and get to the flanks and come in that way, it could really mess up the Germans' attack, because now they're between potential reinforcements just advancing 1 hex on and having Germans right up against them at night, especially if the star shells land wrong. It's a real crapshoot.
Well, here's the way. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think one thing we didn't see, I didn't see anyways, and I was looking around for this, we never saw a German player that was patient and wanted to just take long-range shots, recognizing they had better firepower and better leadership.
And the two overwhelming German losses were for that exact reason. They were over aggressive. The Russian player, and just so you guys understand, only the Russian elites have star shell capability in the first. So you have two 8 morale half squads and 2 leaders. So you have 4 units, and bad star shells for the Germans ended up getting the German right side completely wiped out. It was like a turn 3 win for the Russians and another early concession. And go ahead.
It's super appealing to have the Germans in the trenches. That's where the best terrain is. But that doesn't have to happen for the Germans to win the game. They can sit at a distance, using the star shells to their advantage if they can get them to land in reasonable places, and break up these Russians that are likely to never come back because there's just no rally terrain and there's only 2 leaders. I guess they get a leader as a reinforcement.
Right, but that's the other piece. So as it relates to the Russian defense, I looked at the Russian defense as having 2 components. You had elite units that were star shell capable, which I think need to set up on the right side of the Russian defense to start, so you can turn 1 star shell. And then you have, I think, 5 wire and 24 mine factors. Now, I thought that my inclination was on the right side, I and J6 and the I5, I7, I8 hexes all have trenches. Your elites and your leaders and your 8 morale half squads go over there to fire star shells to kind of screw the guys coming on that first turn, because again, NVR 5. And then you put the mines in the wire to cover the left side for the 8 morale guys, making it. But here's the thing I didn't realize until after a couple playings was the Germans don't need to run through those mines in the wire. They just need to kill the units behind them in the trenches. So then what I did was, and you'll notice, I think it was in our 3rd or 4th playing, I put the wire and mines in the trench hexes.
Yep.
To stop that whole, and you actually went around, you went north and then the X factor we have talked about, if you notice on the scenario card, there's a reinforcement chart on the right side. Starting on turn 3 and turn 3, 4, and 5, you make a die roll that's modified by the previous turn's die roll on 4 and 5, getting reinforcements. Now, the original scenario had a KV-1 in there and a BT-7, which we found made the scenario literally unlosable for the Russians. That got tweaked a little bit, but there are certainly variances in those reinforcements that are meaningful. You get a couple elite half squads, 4/8s, or you get a 6/8, or you get a leader, whatever. But they come on 3, 4, and 5, and as Brian said, if you look at the wooden building in I-10 and the 2, what is it? Woods or brush, right? Brush or woods?
They're brush.
Yeah. So by the time that the reinforcements come on, you've got Germans on both sides. And like Brian said, it's NVR 5. You could stand off and encircle everybody if you don't get too crazy early on. Now, that being said, you got 6 movement phases. Not too short. It's only a half map. So you don't have to run and literally bonsai your way in. You can insult, move, and advance. And at night, you never lose concealment when you do that. Now, you have to shoot. And all the Russians are under no move to begin with, but the Russians aren't going to be doing a lot of maneuvering anyway. And that's the other piece to this for the Russians is when you set up, you're confined to moving around the trenches, especially if you mine the trench hexes or wire the trench hexes. So you're limited. I do believe, Brian, and I don't know where this fits for you because you don't have an affinity for them a lot, but I think the dummies are incredibly potentially important based on how you. Again, let me back up. Single man counter and support weapons hip at night. So literally every stack, the Russian stack is a concealment counter on top of 1 counter. So you can, and there's more counters available than there are trenches. So, and then you have a couple of hip guys as well. There's a lot of toys for the Russian defense, even though you're looking at 6 of your 10 squads or 6 morale going to die as soon as they break units.
For the Germans, you got to look for encirclement opportunities. Rely on that firepower. Even the 4.67s are just so much more dominant than the Russian troops. And if you're lucky enough and you can get that night to go up to 6, 7, something like that, you can shoot across the entire battlefield.
Right.
and you don't even need to worry about star shells then. You got cloaking, which is nice. I had a hard time manipulating cloaking to be too helpful. It was nice to get a couple of guys to shoot, possibly at nothing, but with the NVR so high, to me it was just difficult to
Well,
implement
it's
that.
also a quick rules note aside for you newer players. You got to remember too. First couple of playings, we screwed up. We had cloaking counters revealing hip fortifications that were dummies. And at night, when you're playing, it has to be a real unit. When you move on to a fortification or a minefield, you have to ask as a defender, is that a real unit? And if it's not a real unit, it goes away. You don't put your fortifications on the map, but that's the whole intelligence thing, and that doesn't get played right enough, I think, or is it well known? There's a lot of little rules at night. Your hip allocation, the cloaking. I get a concealment counter for each what is it, squad equivalent or MMC at night, in addition to what I'm given.
Right.
But you're right, Brian. And this was something we tweaked at the later playtest, was we bumped up the leadership on both sides because of the +1 NVR on all shots. You had all the Russians are in trenches, but I look at playing the Germans in this as like playing the Americans almost in any scenario when they're 6 morale. I just need normals. I don't need anything else. I don't need a K/4. That's great. Just give me a normal morale check, because the math says they're going to break, and when they break at night, and an NVR of 5. Now that to me, if I had to give a piece of advice to somebody playing tonight, the most important rules to understand at night is routing. It's a completely different animal at night. You don't die for failure to route, because you are literally encircled after German turn 2. You have units on both sides and in NVR, so routing completely changes.
For me, the most important rule is no multi-location fire groups. That means if you want better than a 4+3 shot, unless you happen to be stacked with leader, you got to put a couple of guys together, which makes you vulnerable to that one Russian 4 flat rolling a lucky, snake eyes or 3 or something and doing some damage.
And the sniper. You'll notice on the card, the printed snipers are 2 and 0, because inherently sniper goes up by 2 at night. So the Russians running around with 4 sniper, which, as I've come to learn playing you every day in the last 3 years, anytime you get above a 3, you start talking about a potential impact on the outcome of the game. In an RB game, when you've got 500 dice rolls a turn, one change in sand is monumental. In a game like this, again, a 1 sniper can be catastrophic, because I'm going to say it again, the Russians don't come back. The Russians that break at night, they don't rally. Unless you get a heat of battle, then you're probably getting somebody that's berserk. You're just not coming back at night. These 6 morale guys, and more often than not, I think a lot of our scenarios, we found that by turn 4 or 5, all the broken guys in the Russian side were under disruption counters. And with only 2 leaders, hang with them. They're gone. They're done. You can't self-rally, and all things go with that. But like you said, we bumped the leadership up because we recognized that it was going to be a bunch of 4+3s. Well, if the NVR stays at 5, you can be on both edges of the trenches and fire all the way across. That's where the German, you could even make an argument, and I thought about this, for the Russians putting that wire 2 to 3 hexes outside of the trench area on one side or the other, just to stop the Germans from getting into position to lay all that encirclement, forcing them to go around, and then popping up hip guys, because hip's different at night too. So, and by the way, hip fortifications at night, you don't see the wire until you step on it. Very important to remember that. It doesn't, it's not line of sight driven. It's basically you got to step on it, and by then it's too late.
There's some cool toys. I mean, you get a 9-2 with 8 morale units. You want to assault with them. You got the defense, guys that like to set up a defense. This is a good scenario for them. It's worth a playing. Like I said at the beginning, I'm not a night guy. I've played it. I'll probably not go back to play it anytime soon, just because night's not my favorite. But it's worth a shot once, just to see what we're talking about. And let us know how it goes.
Let me just add
Please
this,
report your playings, guys,
yeah.
to Doug Rimmer's page. I can't recall off the top of my head. I know
The area. Yeah.
Um,
Um,
you know, we're
let me
trying
just add
hard to
too.
get tournaments. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say to your point about playing. A lot of younger players or players moving from, and I say younger experience-wise or newer players. One of the things you're trying to do, learning. I would tell you that Desert is not anywhere near what I thought it was when I first started playing. It's way more enjoyable, plays way faster. There are certain scenarios that are teaching scenarios. That are smaller versions of a scenario where, and this was one I would argue, if you want to understand night or start to play a night scenario, this is a scenario that I would highly recommend because of the 5 NVR and the small unit composition, and it's infantry only.
Yeah, it's a good night scenario. There's another fun night scenario coming up, one I actually did enjoy in Marco Polo Bridge, which hopefully we'll see by Christmas. We should see it by Christmas. And it's Chinese broadsword troops charging the Japanese at night. Quite enjoyable, a lot of fun. So maybe this is a good way to prep up until that module comes out.
Anything else, B?
I got nothing on the short list. I think we're pretty good. Thanks everybody for the first week reaction. I think we had like 400 people subscribe,
Yep, I
which
just want to
everybody was
mention
saying
too,
was ridiculous.
episode 1 is now up on Spotify. So if you guys want to head over and check out Spotify, Garrick has got episode 1 up, and episode 2 will be on Spotify as well.
Generally, we're trying to do these Sunday night, and then they'll be posted on Monday on YouTube, on our channel. I guess it's MMP's channel now.
And Spotify, they'll be posted to all of our social media outlets as we move along here.
Yeah, we'll get it eventually. We're old guys. It takes a while.
As long as we're here.
That's about all I have, though.
Yep, no, I'm good. Scenario 3 next week. You guys,
My favorite of the
like
5,
Brian
by the
said,
way.
huh?
I said my favorite of the 5, by the way.
Yeah.
I love that scenario.
We mentioned earlier sending comments. My favorite peanut butter to, what was the email again, Brian?
podcast@mmpgamers.com.
And we'll be giving away prizes. We're also going to, and we talked about this earlier, we're going to be giving away some prizes to people in the comments as well. Mentorship sessions via Vassal and some other stuff, trying to get you guys engaged. Next week will be scenario 3. We may bring in one of the guys from WBC, maybe J.R. Tracy or maybe Pete Schelling from a design perspective to say hello. But that'll be on the docket for number 3. Like I said, hit like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Yeah, I don't need to remind anybody, but we're coming up on ASLOC too. Always a good time. I haven't been there because of family obligations generally, but Kurt goes there, Perry goes there.
I will be there Sunday.
The place to be.
Yeah, and I'm going to get Brian to make a trip. I'm making Brian make a trip this year. I'm forcing him to come out on Friday. But I'll be playtesting that week, so look forward to seeing you guys, and we'll catch you next week. Take care.